Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Brendan and today we're going to talk about building a successful career. But before that, I'd really appreciate it if you could just nudge the like button and also click subscribe. It just means that you'll get the great content the moment it is released. Right, successful careers. So, they're very subjective. Ultimately, it's very specific and personal to you. But I'm going to give you the 7-step plan to build a successful career. Okay, number one, you need to have clarity. Clarity is that specific goal. It's far too easy to be able to sit there and go, I'd love to be a millionaire. Okay, what does that really mean? Within what time scale? Is it realistic? Is it achievable? Funnily enough, it's probably those 5 letters that calculate the SMART acronym. That's what you need to be able to do, is have you written your goal down? If it's not specific, it's not going to happen. Because it's got to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Now, I know you're probably sitting here thinking, Brendan, we've always heard how it's important to make goals specific and smart and all that other jazz, but it is massively important. Specific goals that are important to you and you alone is what really sets out the foundations to give you the best chance of success. So, you need to have clarity around what you're trying to achieve. If you're not sure, which many of us probably weren't when we set out in the beginning of our careers. I wanted to be a physiotherapist when I first started out in their school. Funnily enough, I wasn't very good at biology, didn't get any offers, and so the physio career was cut short right at the very beginning. But I really enjoyed business studies and I love sports science. So I became a business studies with sports science major. Happy days. Long story short, ended up being an accountant, quite a changing career, but I had clarity that I wanted to be able to help people. People are always going to need information interpreting, and that's what I enjoy. I like helping people understand the problems and overcoming them. So number one, have clarity. Number two, define success. Now you need to define success on your own terms. I don't really give a shit what anybody else is doing, because unless they've had exactly the same experience and exactly the same opportunities at exactly the same moment in exactly the same time frame, you're not going to end up with the same result. So stop comparing yourselves to the Instagram generation and going, he or she has made X million by having so many followers and just sitting at home creating videos. That might be true. But the chances are of you replicating exactly that success is slim. I'm sorry. I don't mean to break it to you in a harsh way, but the chances of that happening are slim. But what you can do is you can define success on your terms. What is it that you want to do? Don't let anybody tell you what isn't possible, because the world is your lobster. But you really need to be clear around what success means to you, and that generally means writing it down. Once you've written it down, the adage of what gets measured gets managed is so true. There's also a really crazy statistic that says the number of people that write their goals down and achieve them increases by 80%. Not a bad statistic. Having said that, they say that 97% of all statistics are made up. So let's just put that to one side. But define success and make it applicable to you. Number 3, stand your ground. You will need to learn how to say no. Just let that sink in for a moment. When you're starting out in your career, it's really difficult to say no, because you want to impress and you want to make sure that you're doing a good job. That said, it is a really important skill to learn. John Cleese tells the story that when he first became famous with Monty Python, he said yes to everything. All of a sudden he was being pulled from pillar to post and was very close to having burnout right at the very beginning. Somebody sat him down and said, you need to learn how to say no, and if you do it in a clear and articulate way, people might not like it, but they'll understand where you're coming from. Say yes and do everything badly, or say no and do some things really, really well. But you need to define what is important to you. For me, it's values. Integrity, how people act, culture, all that sort of stuff. That's what matters to me, and that's what I will not budge on. What somebody does when nobody's looking, that's the culture piece. Integrity, making sure that you always do the right thing, even in the face of adversity, that's important to me. So, you need to stand your ground. Number 4 kind of goes without saying, but you need to be productive. Get shit done. I'm sorry, there's no easy way to say it, but to be successful, you're going to have to work hard. And it's not just working hard, it's being productive. Difference between being productive and being busy: imagine a big pile of papers. Being busy is just sorting through them and moving them from the right side to the left side. Feel like you've had a good day, but in actual fact all you've done is move paper from one side of the desk to the other. Okay, cool. Well done you. Now being productive would be sorting through those papers, addressing those that you can, moving to the one sides, the ones that have been addressed, and dealing with the ones that need to be dealt with. You might not actually get as much of a small pile on the left-hand side, but you've been productive because you've dealt with them. Yes, you can get all caught up in the Mark Twain piece around eating the frog. Not literally, but do the hard things first, because the rest of the day will feel much better. But you've got to work out, are you going to be busy or productive? If you're not sure, use the Eisenhower matrix, and I'll put a link in the description below. But you do need to be productive. And I know you can be. Number 5, make decisions confidently. You will never have all of the information you need to make the decision that you want and feel totally comfortable with it. It just doesn't happen. There'll be elements of doubt. There'll be a what if moment. There'll probably be somebody who says, oh, have you thought about this? Oh dear, right, okay, add it to the mix. Creates a bit of confusion. All of a sudden you're thinking, bloody hell, what do I do next? Take time, understand what you can, and make a confident decision. I've talked previously about how to become a good decision maker, and it's hugely important. You won't get it right every time. In fact, one of the elements of life is actually failing. The number of times you get knocked down is relevant, but it's actually the number of times that you get back up again that really makes the difference. It's terribly cheesy, I know, but sadly it's true. So, number 5, make decisions confidently. Number 6, know your priorities. Are you going to go for a success at all costs approach, or are you going to try and live a balanced life? Neither is right, neither is wrong, but it's up to you to decide. In the age of COVID, those people that are fortunate enough to be able to work from home have found that in actual fact you've been able to have a slightly more balanced life. Yes, the chances are you've had to learn how to homeschool and deal with children walking into Zoom calls and the doorbell going and the telephone ringing, all this sort of thing happening while you're trying to present. But it does mean that you're at home with your family. Conversely, if you're starting out in your career, are you prepared to succeed at all costs? So are you going to work all the hours in the day, do everything you can so that you can have more jam later? That's a choice that you're going to have to make. The priorities matter to you. I could sit here and tell you this is what I think you should do, but that's my point of view. That's not applicable to you directly. You need to sit down and think about what really matters to you. They are your priorities. They are what constitute you being you. So, go away, write down what your priorities are, stick to them, and go and get it. Number 7, be disciplined. It's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to think, I'll just do it tomorrow. That one time that you don't do it today, well, chances are you'll get to tomorrow and think, I'll do it the next day. Tomorrow never comes. Sorry, if you keep putting it off, you're never going to get there. So you need to be disciplined. I'm a huge fitness enthusiast, and so, for me, being disciplined is maintaining a training program. It's eating the right things. It's making sure that I move every day. It's just trying to do the small things well on a recurring basis. Success ultimately can be a really boring process. To become really fit and succeed in the sporting context, you do all the hard yards when nobody's looking. So therefore, when you do have the race or the challenge or whatever it might be, hopefully it goes well. But what people don't see is the hours and hours and hours of hard work when nobody is looking. It could be cold, it could be wet, late nights, early mornings, whatever it is. That's what people don't see for when success comes along. So for you, you need to be disciplined. Discipline will take many different forms. Are you going to set your alarm to wake up an hour earlier so that you can do some writing or do some planning? Are you going to work an hour later in the evening so that you can get to the gym and be fit? Are you going to make sure that you create time to do these things when you really don't feel like it? They're the parts that make the difference. Now, I can't sit here and say if you follow these 7 steps you're definitely going to be successful, because that would be a lie. But these 7 principles will give you a great chance to say wrap them together, allow them to be part of you so that you can take them on your career. If you need help, ask for help. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence that says, you need a support network. I would agree with that. I come at it from both a leadership perspective and a sports endurance perspective, and having a support network is hugely important. Whether it be a mentor for the workplace or somebody to lean on when stuff's just not going well on the sports front, you just don't want to do the endurance challenge or the training's really hard. Who are you going to lean on in the moments that you need them most? They're your support network. Ultimately, you need to stay the course because it's all about you. Please remember not to compare yourselves to anybody else. Ignore the Instagram generation. Ignore the YouTubers of today. Not that you can't achieve the same success, but you've got to do it on your own terms. Because unless you've had exactly the same experience, opportunities, and elements that allowed them to succeed, it's going to be different. And that's it. They're the 7 principles or steps to help you build a successful career. With that, let me know how you get on, and I will see you in the next video.